I pull into the driveway smelling of antiseptic and exhaustion, my scrubs clinging to me like a second skin. 12 hours in the ER leaves your bones hollow. Tonight was no different. 3 codes. A little boy with his arm in a crooked cast. A man who swallowed his dentures and refused to admit it. My feet ache. My head buzzes. And all I want is a hot shower and a bed that doesn't creak with memories. The street is that warm amber that only Portland sunsets know how to give. Mrs. Patterson is out by her azaleas, watering like she does every evening, and she lifts a tired hand as I pass. I force a smile and wave back, but my stomach tightens when I see the living room windows. The curtains are gone. Strange. Mom always washed them on Thursdays. Maybe she started early. I unlock the door and the house answers with a lonely echo. Mom. My voice hangs in the air and comes back to me thin and small. The living room is a ghost. No sofa, no coffee table, not even the faded recliner Brandon begged to keep when he moved out. Photos that used to climb the staircase wall are gone. Even the hideous ceramic birds my mom loved are nowhere. It's as if someone swept away an entire life with a broom and a cold, efficient hand. On the kitchen counter a single white envelope sits in a shaft of light like it had been left there on purpose. My fingers shake as I break the seal. Her handwriting, slanted, impatient, reads, "Thanks for fixing our credit, loser. We're moving to Texas with Brandon. Don't call." The floor drops out from under me. I remember the night Mom called. Voice ragged, whispering that we were about to lose the house. Dad's gambling had spiraled, loans had stacked like unwanted furniture. And there was this number that kept repeating in my head. $325,000. I remember promising I'd fix it. I remember the choices I made: extra shifts, canceled dental appointments, ramen dinners with powdered cheese, credit cards pushed to their limits. I remember sleeping in my car for a week after Brian left, because I couldn't afford rent. I remember thinking saving the house would be the point where everything stopped bleeding. An automated realtor text pings my phone: "Congratulations on the successful listing of your property at 4207 Oakwood Lane. We anticipate closing within 30 days. The word "or" blinks at me like a lie. They're selling it. My childhood home. The house where Dad taught me to throw a baseball. Where Mom's apple pie recipe still lived smudged on a corner of a recipe card. My hands go cold. I rip the papers open and the dates swim. 3 weeks ago, while I was pulling triple shifts, while I was bringing groceries on my day off, the contract was signed. The $450,000 listing price. Down payment already received. Closing scheduled for next week. Nearly double what I'd paid to keep this place from the bank. My throat constricts at the word they. My own parents. My brother. They'd been smiling on Facebook a few hours ago, toasting with champagne in photos tagged New Beginnings. They had dinner with family just last week. Lavish plates, expensive wines, laughter that felt like salt in old wounds. I sat at that table with my stomach hollow and my wallet empty, while they posed for pictures as if nothing had ever been wrong. I should have seen it. He asked me to sign. Refinancing? Forms? Mom's pen hovering, trust in her gaze. "It's temporary," I lied, the stupidest lie I'd ever told. "For tax purposes." She signed. Dad signed. I watched the deed turn the house into paper and numbers, thinking I was protecting them. I was only making them comfortable stealing it. Sitting on the cold hardwood, envelope trembling in my lap, anger arrives like a second heartbeat. Betrayal sharpens my focus. The hollow place inside me tightens and then hardens. This was my mistake, yes, but it will not be my end. I made the choice to save them. If they wanted to repay me with a goodbye and a sale, then at least they would be wrong about one thing: I had not lost the house. Not yet. Night presses in. I sleep fitfully in the backseat of my old Toyota, because the rooms feel too small, too empty. I map the timeline across the floor with the realtor's contract, bank statements, and my own canceled checks. Each piece of paper is a memory of sacrifice. A receipt for a shift worked, a stamp for a money order, a credit card statement with the minuscule payments I could afford. I trace the path that led me here and say the name of the feeling out loud: betrayal. The weight of it settles, but beneath the hurt something else hums. A low, steady current. Not vengeance yet, not even courage, just a plan forming around the hard center of my resolve. They think I'm the victim. Fine. Let them keep their guilt. I will keep the house. I will keep the truth. And when morning comes, I will start doing what needs to be done. Morning sunlight cuts across the hardwood floor, painting the empty living room in pale gold. The quiet feels different today. Not hollow, but sharpened, as if the walls themselves are waiting to see what I'll do. My body aches from a night spent twisted in the back seat of my car, but exhaustion can wait. I've lived tired for years. Today I need something else: clarity. I spread the documents across the kitchen counter like a battlefield map. Quitclaim deed. Realtor contract. Bank statements with my name circled in desperate highlighter. Each page is proof of what I gave, and what they took. Each page is also ammunition. At 9 sharp, I call Mr. Abernathy, the lawyer whose office sits above a pawn shop on 8th. He answers with a clipped hello, but when I mention foreclosure, debt payments, and forged explanations about refinancing, his tone changes. Bring everything you have, he says. Every receipt, every text, every scrap. If they tricked you into signing under false pretenses, we may have something. By noon, his desk is buried beneath my evidence. He studies the quitclaim deed first. Notice the title. He asks, tapping the page. It doesn't say anything about refinancing. It's clear as day. A transfer of ownership. My father's voice echoes in my head. Just sign here, Holly. It's routine paperwork. Routine. That word burns now. Abernathy looks at me over his glasses. This is fraud. They told you one thing, but signed another. With your financial records, it shows you weren't surrendering the house. You were saving it. That note they left. He gestures toward the white envelope on his desk. That's the kind of arrogance that makes judges angry. And angry judges tend to side with the wronged party. For the first time in weeks, I breathe a little easier. On my drive home, I pass Brandon's old high school. The basketball court chain link fence rattles in the wind. I remember standing there during his games, clapping until my palms stung, screaming his name until my throat ached. He always looked for me in the crowd, always smiled when he found me. That boy is gone now, replaced by the man who helped my parents gut our home and chase a Texas fantasy. The grief of that loss stings sharper than the betrayal itself. By late afternoon, I returned to the empty house. A few boxes remained stacked against the wall. Things they didn't bother to take. Old linens. A broken lamp. A box of magazines from the 90s. I tear into them, searching for anything left behind, and find something wedged at the bottom, a faded photo of me at nursing school graduation. Cap crooked. Eyes bright. Arms wrapped around mom and dad. My stomach turns. I tape the photo to the fridge, not as a memory, but as a reminder. A marker of the people they chose to be. That evening, Jennifer from the ER stops by. She peers into the empty rooms and shakes her head. They really took everything. Everything but the walls, I answer. My voice is steady, colder than I expect. She sets down a grocery bag. Bread. Soup. A carton of orange juice. You're not alone, she says. Don't try to act like you are. Her kindness nearly cracks me open, but I hold it together. There isn't space for tears anymore. Only action. Night falls heavy and silent. I sit at the kitchen counter with a notebook and begin to write a new kind of list. Not debts, not sacrifices, not payments. This list is different. Secure locks. Gather allies. Document everything. Protect the house. Make them face what they did. The pen digs grooves into the paper. A plan carved in ink and resolve. By the time the clock reads midnight, I know one thing for certain: they stole from me thinking I'd fold. But I'm not folding. I'm sharpening. This house may have been stripped bare, but it isn't empty anymore. It holds my anger, my resolve, my fight. And if they thought a note was the end of the story, they've underestimated the daughter who carried their debt on her back. Tomorrow, I begin striking back. The next morning I wake with a list in my head and a quiet, stubborn calm in my bones. I switch out of scrubs and into jeans that fit like armor. Lace up boots that have carried me through worse nights than this. and head out to do the work I should have done months ago. Not for them, but for me. First stop, the title office. Mr. Abernathy meets me with a stack of printed pages, and a wary look that I've come to appreciate. "We've filed an emergency notice," he says. "The sale is frozen. They can't close without your signature." Relief is quick and sharp, but it doesn't soften the edge of my resolve. Paper can protect you, but paper can also lie. I hand him a folder of bank statements, pay stubs, every text message between me and my parents that shows the pattern of falsehoods. He watches me with something like respect. "You've done your homework," he murmurs. "Good, that matters." From there I go to the hardware store and push a cart like I'm loading for war. New locks, a smart deadbolt, motion sensor lights, a basic alarm system. The cashier comments on the volume of boxes, and I joke about finally becoming an adult who owns a toolbox. Inside, I feel like the joke is about survival. When the installer rigs the cameras and shows me the live feed of my porch, watching my own steps appear on a tiny screen feels almost sacred. I set the motion alerts to buzz my phone. I sleep better that night knowing there's a recording of me reclaiming what's mine. Neighbors begin to show up, slowly, as if the neighborhood is waking from a collective blink. Mrs. Patterson drops off a cardboard box heavy with framed photographs she'd rescued from a donation pile. "I couldn't bear to see them gone," she says. Her hands are knotted from years of gardening, but she carries the frames like they are delicate treasures. The Collins family brings a second-hand couch, mismatched but warm. Mike from radiology hauls in a table, with grease smudges, and a story about the flea market where he found it. Each donated piece feels less like charity and more like a reclaiming ritual. A patchwork home being refitted by the people who actually live next door. Mara, Brandon's ex, texts me in the middle of the night. "I can't believe he did it. I kept his messages. I'll give them to you." She comes over the next day with a stack of screenshots and printouts, eyes dark and tired. Reading the messages is like watching a slow motion film of betrayal plans. Discuss dates circled, casual cruelty in the margins. She hadn't known the scale, she had only known the arrogance. Now she knows. Now I know more names. Enough to make a noise that won't be ignored. Armed with evidence and allies, I start to shape the narrative. I write a concise, factual email and attach copies of the deed, bank transfers, and conversation threads. I send it to the realtor, the title company, and a small circle of relatives who still have the sense to listen. I keep the tone clinical. No hyperbole, no melodrama. Facts are harder to discredit than feelings. Within hours, the realtor replies that the listing is pulled pending further investigation. The title company confirms the freeze. A sense of momentum hums like electricity through my bones. But this isn't just a legal battle, it's a reclamation of identity. I repaint Brandon's old room in a seafoam the color of the Oregon coast. The blue-green that has always quieted me. Each stroke of the brush is a small triumph, covering posters and messy thumbtacks, and the sticky residue of someone else's life with a color I chose. I hang my nursing license above the mantel where a wedding portrait used to preside. The act is symbolic and selfish and wholly necessary. That night, I stand on the back porch with a cup of reheated coffee and watch the neighborhood lights come on one by one. The house is beginning to feel like a home again. Uneven, imperfect, honest. The camera on the porch blinks in the dark like an eye that will not look away. I catch myself smiling, small and private, at the image of my parents' car, that passed by 2 streets over, slowing as if hoping for a glimpse. Let them look. Let them see the life they tried to sell for a price. They will remember me, but they will not erase me. I learned, with a clarity that cuts, that saving something for others can sometimes mean losing yourself. I am still paying in credit card interest and late fees. My hands ache from shifts and paint, and lifting heavy bags of soil for the garden I plan to plant. But each ache is a marker of work done, not of debt swallowed by someone else's greed. I'm reclaiming more than a house. I'm reclaiming the record of who I am, and what I will no longer tolerate. Tomorrow I will deliver a folder to my brother. The documents will be neat, The words will be precise. I don't want drama. I want accountability. This is what it looks like when someone who's been used decides to stop folding the clothes of other people's lies, and instead learns to hang her own coat up with pride. The day I finally face them begins quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your ribs and makes every breath sound louder than it should. I dress simply, in black slacks and a plain blouse. Nothing dramatic. My armor today isn't fabric or metal. It's the folder in my hands, thick with evidence that cuts sharper than any blade. The courthouse smells of polish and paper. Mr. Abernathy walks beside me, steady and unhurried. His confidence steadies mine. In the hallway, I see them, my parents, sitting stiff in wooden chairs, Brandon slouched between them with arms crossed like a sulking child. Their eyes widen when they see me. Mom starts to open her mouth, maybe to soften me with one of her practiced apologies. But I don't slow. I don't blink. I walk past without a word. Inside the chamber, everything feels amplified. The scrape of chairs against tile, the rustle of pages, the echo of shoes against marble. When the judge calls us forward, I stand tall, shoulders square, voice even. I tell my story the way I lived it. The nights I worked doubles to cover the debt. The morning I found their note. The signatures I was tricked into believing were protection instead of surrender. Each word lands like a stone in still water, rippling outward. They try to interrupt. My father clears his throat, mutters about family agreements. My mother leans forward, palms spread as if to plead. Brandon smirks, says it was just business, nothing personal. The judge silences them with a raised hand. Then Abernathy lays the stack of proof on the bench. Contracts, bank transfers, text messages, the note itself in its cruel brevity. For a moment, the courtroom is so silent I can hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. The judge's gaze hardens as he reads. When he finally speaks, his voice is clipped, deliberate. This is fraud. This is exploitation. He looks directly at my parents. You took advantage of her trust. You attempted to strip her of the very home she fought to protect. That will not stand in this court. The ruling is swift. The sale is void, the deed restored to me. My parents and Brandon are barred from making further claims. Their arrogance, their casual cruelty, has been written into official record as nothing more than fraud. As we leave the courtroom, Brandon mutters under his breath. You think this fixes anything? His voice cracks at the end, like the boy he once was. I stop, turn, and meet his eyes for the first time in weeks. No. I say, my voice calm. It doesn't fix anything. But it makes sure you can't break me again. They leave first, their footsteps retreating down the marble corridor. I don't chase. I don't cry. I stand there with Abernathy beside me, the folder lighter now in my hands. And I realize something I hadn't before: revenge isn't always fire. Sometimes it's paper. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's simply standing your ground until the ground itself holds you up. That night, I sit on the porch of my house, and let the cool air wash over me. The camera light blinks red, recording. Inside, the walls echo with new beginnings instead of old betrayals. The garden soil waits to be turned. The seafoam paint dries in Brandon's old room. The mismatched couch holds its shape, like it belongs here. I raise a glass of water. No champagne, no theatrics, and whisper to the quiet street. We're still here. And for the first time in months, the house doesn't feel empty. It feels alive. It feels mine. Weeks pass. The seasons shift. The house, once stripped bare, begins to breathe again. Curtains sway in the evening breeze. The mismatched couch carries the weight of laughter when friends visit, and the garden pushes tiny green shoots through dark soil like proof that life insists on coming back, no matter how cruel the winter. But wounds don't close in silence. Not mine. Not theirs. One evening, an envelope arrives in the mailbox. No return address, but the handwriting is familiar, my mother's, looping and careful. Inside, a single page. Apologies. Explanations. Words about desperation. And pressure. And we didn't mean to hurt you. I read it once. Then again. The words feel thin, like gauze that can't cover a wound this deep. I fold the letter neatly. slide it back into the envelope, and place it in the drawer with the rest of the documents. Evidence, not absolution. Because here's the truth: forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, and I don't owe them the comfort of either. Instead, I decide to write my own letter. Not to them, to myself. It's 3 pages long, written in the quiet hours after a double shift, coffee cooling by my elbow. I write about the night I found their note. About the courtroom. About every breath I stole back from the weight they tried to crush me with. I write about resilience, about dignity, about building walls that protect instead of isolate. I end the letter with 5 words. This home is truly mine. I seal it, address it to no one, and slide it into the back of the same drawer. A counterweight to their lies. Then I take my fight beyond these walls. With Abernathy's help, I file a report that ensures their names aren't just whispered about in court transcripts, but logged in records that follow them. Fraud doesn't fade when the ink dries. Actions echo. Choices chase you. And when the day comes that they try to start over, to charm another signature, to bend another truth, someone will see what they did to me. But the sweetest revenge isn't their punishment. It's my peace. On the first Sunday of spring, I host a small gathering. Jennifer from the ER brings pie. Mara shows up with laughter. I thought she'd lost. Patterson plants daisies in the front yard. We eat, we sit, we tell stories. The house fills with noise again, not the sharp clatter of betrayal, but the warm hum of community. My walls, once hollow, now carry the sound of belonging. As the evening fades, I step onto the porch, the garden stretching green in the dusk. The camera light blinks, steady and faithful. I sip from a glass of iced tea and watch the street. If their car ever drives past again, if their eyes ever linger on the windows they once called theirs, they'll see the glow of a home they couldn't destroy. Because I survived them. I outlasted them. And I reclaimed what was stolen. Not just the house, but the part of me that believed I was breakable. This isn't just a home anymore. It's a monument, a reminder carved into brick and paint and soil that sometimes the greatest revenge isn't fire, or fury, or destruction. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply this: I am still here. And I am free,